Early on our Saturday afternoon, Erin and I headed down to the Hartville area of Ohio. We were going to do a loop that would be about 40 miles and 1,200 feet of climbing. It's a ride that I had done before. We went out for a group ride called Yetis on the Loose that our buddies Scott and Tony host. That was actually such a cold day that Erin's gears were frozen and she didn't end up doing the ride. We didn't know what was wrong with her bike at the time, but she bailed on it just in case she wouldn't be able to shift. We parked our car at Maize Valley, which is a farm market, and it's also a brewery and a winery and a restaurant. Really cool place. We do group rides out to that spot from home and then back sometimes as well. When we were looking into what route we wanted to select it for our day, we were looking at this one because, one, Erin never got to do it, so it would be almost all new to her. The other idea is there's a brewery down in Alliance, which would be about 20 miles in, and it's a place we've never gone to, Aeonian Brewing, and the guy who is the half owner and the brewer, I've known for a number of years. He originally worked at Thirsty Dog in downtown Akron where I met him, and so the idea was to go and check out his spot. Erin was saying for both our rides this weekend, she felt pretty unmotivated to get out. This was a pretty gray, dreary day. It had rained most of the evening. As you can see, the roads were wet. There was no chance of rain in the forecast today, however, but it is just one of the things this time of year where you really just got to get yourself out the door if you want to ride, because there's just a lot of times where it just doesn't look that great out. This is a huge contrast to my last video. The last video was about riding out to Bent Ladder, and it was kind of the end of the season. It was the last day before the time change. The skies were blue. There were still a bunch of leaves on the trees. This is obviously a very different look. It's hard to complain about this fall at all. The fall has gone so long. The weather has stayed so warm. Even in our forecast right now, the temp for today and tomorrow are still in the 60s. So it's been really, really nice. But, when the leaves are gone, when it gets dark, when it gets gray, it definitely can sap your motivation a little bit. At this part in the ride, we stopped at this reservoir so we could take advantage of the bathrooms. Also, when Erin came out, had a problem with her valve cord and her tire had gone pretty flat. So we stopped to pump it back up, but after we did, there wasn't another problem with it and it held fine for the rest of the ride. I think I remember saying almost the exact same thing last time as I said this time. This is one of those rides that would look very, very different at different times of year. As you can see, when it's all farm fields, if that was field corn, it would all be grown up and you'd be riding through that. Obviously, you could see along the sides of the roads, all the trees, and, so it would just be a very different vibe. So it is one that I need to keep in my back pocket that we should do next summer or even next fall when the leaves are all, colorful. I don't know if this road here is temporarily closed or long-term closed. We did stop. Erin wanted to take a couple photos, but then also we saw there is a sinkhole in the middle of the road. Yeah, you can see it right here. So obviously a big reason it's closed. So I don't know if that's going to be fixed and this gets reopened or not, but obviously no problem to ride your bike across it. I think this time of year there are a number of, two main real cool features of this. It's all the reservoirs on this route you pass. And in this section here, we're riding along the dam, and then there's a cool bridge over the dam as well. And then there's also an interesting section of bike path that takes you into and through Alliance. It doesn't look like it's a very well-used bike path, just what I'm guessing from the way it, is kind of a little grown over in spots. And it's kind of curvy and it's kind of rustic, so really cool spot to check out. There's the Mahoning Valley Trail and the Iron Horse Trail. I'm not really sure where they changed names. I need to go back and look at the map. But as always, the Strava will be linked below if you want to look into this route at all. I think the only slight negative about this route would be after Alliance and after we get back off the bike path, There are a few miles of roads that are a little busier. They weren't horrible. They're still country roads. They are a little faster paced. Just one of those things to note if you really just do not like being in any kind of traffic or around fast cars. There is a section that I would say is not the greatest, but definitely not a deal breaker. So right there we passed the only other cyclist we saw all day. Yeah. And it turns out he knew me from the channel. He yelled Fitzwater right there. And, even before we saw him, he's riding a vintage Specialized with big sweet bars. So like, oh, the only other person who's out today looks like someone who's probably cool. Then it turns out he knew the channel. We didn't find it out then. You could see we looked to see if he was going to be stopping. But after we stopped at the brewery and got lunch, we ended up running into him again. And then we stopped and had a chat. So shout out to Keith, who turns out too we follow on Instagram and have DM'd before. One of my glass half full things about once the leaves are gone in the gray season is that you do get like some views that you maybe otherwise wouldn't. So back there where you saw we were like kind of winding around on the bike path and we're next to the river, I don't know, would you realize that in the summer? Maybe not. There are other sometimes where you're like, up on hills in the woods and you just get a different kind of view. So I don't know. I try to stay a little bit positive, but you can see what a cool bike path this is with the curves and a little bit of hills and stuff like that. So still, I would really like to see it when it's green. Oh yeah, there was this little strange train crossing, the way it looped you around. Kind of missed the turn over there where the bike path goes. Not that it really matters, but yeah, something a little different. Maybe because it looks like they had closed the road or something like that. So this here is the outskirts of Alliance. I don't know what the bus graveyard is, but I do remember seeing it the last time we rode this route as well. We rode through downtown Alliance. I've never really stopped in downtown Alliance, so I actually can't tell you what's there. The brewery is kind of on the complete other side of town where the college is, Mount Union. So it's also, I don't know why we changed the route to go to Aeonian Brewing, and the bike path actually runs completely through this area, so we weren't really sure why it took us off route and a little more through downtown, but it was fine because I got some new miles anyways. So here we are passing the campus of Mount Union, which looks really, really pretty. I've never spent any considerable time here. I think the only other time I was actually ever in Alliance is when we did this route. So yeah, we passed the campus. I was trying to figure out what those trees are with the star-shaped leaves, and I forgot to look it up. So I'll just crowdsource it to the internet if someone wants to let me know down below. And then it was crossing over to the brewery. If you happen to come here, the way it's facing and the way the logo is on this side, the parking's actually, or the entrance is actually around the other side, because we locked our bikes up over here, and then we saw like, oh no, the whole front-facing thing is there. So we actually unlocked them and moved them around. We ended up getting Joe, my friend, was not working this day, but we did get to meet the other owner who we chatted with a while, and I just told him how I knew him, nerded out about breweries and the business and the beer. I would recommend it. We really liked the beers we had, and the burgers. I think we both got burgers, and they were really good. This route is kind of cool through here too. You're on the bike path for a little bit. It routes you through some residential neighborhoods and then back out on the path into the country, into more of nature, before we do end up breaking off onto it and back onto the roads that I mentioned for a little ways weren't always the best. But like I said, overall, just is still a great route, and I would still recommend it. I did make one mistake on this day. I forgot to switch my taillight over from my gunner to my rally. I had, even when I was getting ready, looked at it like 4 times and forgot to do that. I have multiple taillights. I need to put one on each bike. Those are the bikes I ride 90% of the time, so it's a stupid thing to forget it. Had my headlight and everything. I am one of those people who, no matter the time of day, almost never leaves without my lights. I at least just throw them in the bag. It's like kind of you never know type situation. Even this ride, I didn't think we would really be out after dark, but we were getting pretty close to dusk when we were getting back to Maize Valley, and I would have really preferred to have my tail light. The other thing is I have a light in my helmet. I'm wearing the same kind of helmet Erin is, the Kali there. And stupid thing too, I've just forgotten to charge my light lately. I need to get back in the habit. Now that we're past the time change, there's so much dark riding. I'll actually bring extra lights sometimes this time of year just in case, or even mount more than one light, because, you know, it's not only that it's darker earlier, we're just getting into the season where, especially around where I live, cars just aren't expecting to see that many people out on bikes. So as I mentioned towards the beginning of this video, Erin said she wasn't super motivated for either of the rides we did this weekend until we got out. The ride that we did the next day, Sunday morning, was the Yeti group ride from Dirty River Bicycle Works. It was the biggest Yeti ride ever. That was the whole plan, to get as many people out and get some new people out. And that was, I think we needed to leave here at about 9:30 in the morning. Same thing, a little gray. It actually turned out to be a really nice day. But as it gets, you know, darker and grayer and definitely colder, I'm just curious of what some of you guys use for your motivation to get out this time of year. Does it affect you at all? Does, like, you know, the little bit of seasonal or a lot of seasonal depression get to you? I know I find that by, you know, February and March, I'm getting a little fed up. It's one of those things that I'm starting to think maybe I need to start planning for a midwinter vacation, something just to keep some motivation going. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Like I said, I'm almost always fine once I get out the door and get moving, but getting out the door once it gets cold and gray is usually the biggest challenge. So here we are back at Maize Valley. We did go in and just split a beer before we headed home. So that's going to about do it for this video. Another turned out to be a great day out, as I said. If you like this kind of content, consider becoming a channel member to support us. If not, we have a little sticker store down below, or just give this video the thumbs up. That's the easiest thing you could do to help us out. Thanks as always for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.